Hey, everybody, and welcome to week 12. So, we've got a lot on your plate this week, so make sure that you give yourself enough time to get through everything. Because, in addition to your weekly assignments, which, there's a full load and the last few weeks have been kind of light, you also have your final exams to get through. So, if you look at your checklist up here, you can see that we're starting our final unit, the new luxury. So, this week we're talking about this concept of whatever the new luxury means in terms of a broader fashion context and how hip hop fashion fits into that perspective. So essentially, what we're saying is that in the 2010s, so think about like starting in 2010, going through, where we're at now, this idea of luxury gets deeply redefined by the folks in or by like the folks in the fashion industry. New ideas get accepted, and our ideas of what counts as luxurious changes pretty quickly. So you have these two readings here, which you'll actually find in a single document. But before you do that, you need to make sure that you read the final exam instructions and watch the final exam instructions video. You can find the video here, a copy of the instructions here, and a copy of the instructions and the objects that you'll be working with here. So all of that information is going to be right here under final exam. Then you'll find your reading just under that. And again, both of these readings right here are located right there. Then finally, you have 3 assignments. You're defining some of the key terms that you find in the reading. You are reflecting on one key concept and then coming up with a sketch for the video. So, for your hip hop luxury definitions, this one is relatively straightforward. There are some new terms right here that you need to come up, or that we need to come up with definitions for. So as you read, there are quite a few different words that you might come up with that are new to you. So what I want you to do is define, not in terms of Google and not in terms of the document, but what do these words mean in your own words? So you're positing a definition. 2, what do you think that the term has to do with hip hop fashion? So you'll do that with hype, experience economy, internet voyeurism. Just be cautious if you Google this, because voyeurism can lead you in different places. And then conspicuous consumption. You might have to do a little Googling on that to try to make sense of it. Cultural currency, and then the currency of cool. These are the key ideas that you're going to be encountering in your readings. Then, after you finish your definitions and submit them, and just think, 2 to 3 sentences per definition, you're going to go to your reflection video. Your reflection video is thinking about, wait a second, is this new luxury actually new? So, we're looking at this new form of, this new formulation or idea of luxury, and it's kind of like redefining luxury along the lines of countercultural movements like hip hop, skate culture, streetwear, etc. So your reading actually comes from this publication called Highsnobiety, which is essentially like a blog turned social media platform center for all things high fashion in the digital age. In other words, you're reading from a publication that's not just about hip hop, but about the contemporary fashion industry. And on page 15, the author lists some key ideas of the new luxury as they're different from old ideas. But I think some of these ideas should probably sound familiar to you. So I want you to go back to your assignment in week 3, defining hip hop fashion. Are there any principles or ideas from that assignment that are essentially the same as the new luxury? For those of you who didn't do it, or maybe did it in an incomplete sense, you might need to go back and actually look at the chapter. Does this mean that the new luxury is just essentially the same thing as what hip hop fashion was in the 1970s? Is the new luxury different in key ways? Why or why not? So you're trying to think about, what is this idea of the new luxury? What does it mean? Is it actually new, or has hip hop been doing this all along? Or is it taking some ideas and changing them, slightly, right? So you're trying to think about the relationship, and I don't think that there's a correct answer at all here. I think that you could say it's completely different. You could say that it's essentially the same, and that there are arguments for both of those ideas. Finally, you're going to be doing your sketch submission for this week. And your sketch submission, like the other assignments, is going to take a little bit more work than what you've thought about in the past. So you can see here, the prompt is that using the principles of the new luxury on page 15, this is the exact same thing that you're looking at for the other 2 assignments. You're going to design a piece that would be considered luxurious in our contemporary sense. So, in other words, you're trying to visualize the new luxury. In your description, I want you to list 2 of the principles from that list on page 15 that you'll be able to see when you get to page 15. It's on the right-hand side. It says the new luxury, and it lists a bunch of principles. I want you to list your 2 principles that you're going to use to make your sketch, and I want you to tell me how the sketch uses them. So for example, this is one you cannot use for credit, but you might say, well, I use the principle that, quote, status is demonstrated by access to the cultures represented by luxury items in my sketch. I designed a gemstone encrusted, aka pullover, with a jersey style lettering of the user's last name on the back. The sweater obviously can only be worn by those who pledge, so it meets the first principle that status is demonstrated by access to the cultures, right? You don't have access to AKA if you haven't pledged. The second principle is pieces personalized to the client's identity. So since the sweater has the name of the wearer on the back, it adheres to the second principle. That's the kind of thing that you'd be writing for this. So you got to think creatively. Like I said, it's going to take a little bit of thought, put a little mental elbow grease into it, right? This is not as simple as just like take some of the colors and put them in your sketch. You have to really think about what these principles mean and how they operate in the real world. For any of my sneakerheads in the class, this is like when we're talking about the new luxury, sneakers are at the very center of our ideas of the new luxury. So anything in hypebeast culture, sneaker culture, skate culture, think Supreme, if I have any like real streetwear fans like Bathing Ape, folks like that, these are the types of brands that are centering and propelling our ideas of the new luxury. So what I want you to do is think about, okay, how do these principles actually appear and how could I incorporate them into a fashion line if I wanted to design one? So again, you can choose any kind of a piece, but you want to pick 2 principles and illustrate those 2 principles. Okay, well, that's all I've got for you for this week. Again, it's a little bit more than normal, so make sure that you pay very close attention to that and give yourself enough time to complete everything. Please ask any questions that you have about the final exam after looking through the instructions, and I look forward to seeing what you all, to get to see what you all come up with. All right, everybody, have a good week.